listening to the OffBeat Business Show, rebuilding American business influence locally, nationally, and abroad, bringing you experienced insight for a strong, influential brand and successful life in business. Here's your host, Susan Hamilton.
Hi there, Susan Hamilton here, your host of the OffBeat Business Show, where we represent you, American business. 80% of Americans, micro to small business, tend to be family-owned businesses of 9 employees or less. That means we're building our business while we're raising our kids, taking care of our parents. We probably have a veteran in our family or workspace, and more than 30% of us have an addict in our family or workspace. Right now, this is a time when we need serious focus and we need serious strength in 4 main areas of our business. That would be networking, processes, events, coaching, all of our continuing education, and digital marketing strategies. And along with digital marketing strategies, we need to get stronger in sales. So today, I'm talking with Scott Schilling. Scott Schilling is a significance expert.
Thank you.
That's
great to be here.
I was saying significant expert and realizing...
Significance expert.
I love that because it is so important to recognize that we are not just existing every day,
Right.
We're intentionally living our lives.
Yeah, significance is that next step beyond success. You know, many of us have had significant success in our lives. I've been very blessed to do over 2,000 live events, probably speak to 1 million people live over my career. It just had some amazing events and met some amazing people. Now, through all that, those are obviously successful events. Well, we tend to then look at our success and go, well, what's next? What do we really do? And significance is that next portion. Success, by definition, is kind of achieving a goal. Significance is really the meaning behind achieving the goals. So we tend to, Bob Buford wrote a great book many years ago called Halftime.
Love that book.
When we reach 50 years of age, all of a sudden we tend to look at things differently. Well, mine was certainly at that age, but then a couple years ago I had a significant health event, came through it by the grace of God with no residual effects, and you really start to think differently. Because now it becomes about significance, the meaning behind it all, not just the success itself.
There couldn't be a more important time for
Absolutely.
American business to start recognizing their significance because America feeds the world. So while we need to be focusing on building American business influence locally, nationally, and abroad, what you bring to the table to allow that to happen is really a lot of fun. I love to hear you, Scott. I really do. I love to hear the way that you convey that message and the way you help us think differently, think more significantly about those relationships as they relate to sales, but as they relate to just the relationship, recognizing it's the significance. There's a purpose here. Your business is a strong
Right.
entity for a big reason.
Well, the real side of turning a business from simply being successful into significance, what I like to talk about to many audiences is about social entrepreneurialism. First of all, entrepreneurs are the lifeblood of our country. 70% of all new revenue, all new job creation, 50% of all new revenue come through entrepreneurs. Well, what's social entrepreneurialism? It's when a for-profit company uses that ability to solve world problems. So again, a lot of times we can take our business and add significance to it by putting a cause behind it, cause marketing, or really understanding. I know personally, I was doing a radio show not long ago, and somebody asked me, what's your big goal in life? And I said, well, my BHAG, my big, hairy, audacious goal is to positively impact 1 billion lives on this planet. Yeah. And they said, well, that's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? And I said, why? Facebook touches 1.8 billion users a month. 1 billion is only 1 out of 7, quite frankly. I'd be doing a horrible job. He goes, well, now you're getting flip about it. I said, well, not really. 1 out of 7 isn't a great job. But what if I miss it terribly and I hit 100 million? What if I'm no good at it and I hit 10 million? What if I suck and I hit 1 million? Did I do okay? And he goes, you're really serious about this? And I said, go back to Mother Teresa when she said, if you can't feed 100, feed 1. See, everything that's being done with this show and everything you're doing is really about up-leveling people's games so that they can do more, be more, have more. And when you have more, you can give more. And so I congratulate you for what you're doing with the show.
Well, thank you so much. And being a part of this project, Scott, I have so much respect for your point of view and everything that you bring to the table to help us up-level that and help us inspire the American business audience that can really make huge changes when they start changing their perspective. And one of the things that your show on our network is going to be doing, I just love talking with giants and the interviews that you have. You share some of the most amazing insight. Thank you so much for that. Talk a little bit about some of the more fun guests that you've had with Talking with Giants TV.
I've been very blessed through those 2,000 plus events. I've shared a ton of stages with virtually every name you know. You might not recognize my name, but you would certainly know theirs. Well, that gives me the opportunity to then thankfully call them friends and have some of those opportunities. When Bob Bodine recently launched his book, 2 Chairs, he came on Talking with Giants TV first before he went on 700 Club, PTL, Fox Morning News, Fox National, all these other shows. And what an honor to have him come to Talking with Giants first. Again, but that came because Bob and I are friends. You know, it's about relationships. Everything I've done throughout my entire career is about relationships and building those. One of the other shows we did was with Tom Ziegler, and Tom and I got the opportunity to talk about his dad, Zig Ziglar, and his greatness. And it was really Zig's book, See You at the Top, when I was 17 years old, just a few years ago. It's not that funny. The fact of the matter is that in that book, there was a quote, "You can have anything in life you want when you simply help enough other people get what they want." Well, I didn't realize that at 17 years of age, that so imparted and impressed upon my heart that that's the way I created my entire career since that time. So Tom and I got to talk about not only Zig, but now what was it like growing up the son of Zig Ziglar? I said, "You probably had no pressure on you." And he just started laughing. And he said, "You know, the one thing that Dad was so great about is I never had the pressure to be Zig. The only pressure I had is to be the best Tom I could be."
Oh, nice.
And so blessed to have so many great guests. Charles Horton, who owns a serial entrepreneur, but one of the companies he owns is the Firewalking Institute. And how interesting it was to get into firewalking as a metaphor for if you have the strength and the courage to walk on fire, there's nothing else that really bugs you in life. You know, so again, the TV show is really designed to lift up the guests, their activities, their desires, and really, I call it my international portal of good. There's plenty of places to find bad in the world. Let's create more bastions of good.
I love that. I love that. You know, everything that is going on in search and everything that is available in digital today is really a content pool. And so if we can't impact what we refuse to be involved in. So it's very, very important that those types of perspectives are put out there, and very tastefully so, because in those conversations you can have the meaningful, persuasive opportunity, right, with your audience. And a lot of people don't realize that is one of the strongest advantages using digital media today. Is there's that ability to have a persuasive conversation for good that doesn't have to be this tacky, finger-pointing, really nastiness that all of us have seen. You know,
one of the other shows was Tammy Kling, and Tammy is a good friend that is the CEO of On Fire Books, but she's also started the conversation. And the conversation is really all about how do we use our desires, our skills, to help the homeless, to feed the hungry, to lift people up, to do so. A great example of social entrepreneurialism in action. She's had a couple of her books turned into movies, and just such an amazing conversation. She shared with me during the show, she said, your story saved one of my children.
Oh.
And I said, what are you talking about? She goes, I've never told you this, have I? And I said, no. She said, when you told your stroke story and that it was the back of your SUV hitting you in the back of the head that caused the dissection in the vessel, which ultimately caused your stroke, she said, we had a broken back hatch on our vehicle, and our kids used to go to try to throw it up and almost got crushed by it. And as soon as I heard your story, we number one went and got it fixed, but number two, we don't let our kids even do that. She goes, you actually saved my child's life. And I was like, wow. So you never know. You don't know what you don't know until you know it. You never know the value of one of these shows. You never know who could possibly glean one piece of information from this that could take it on. One of the most rewarding sides as a trainer and a coach and a mentor is many times it's years later. Somebody will write you a note or share an email with you that says, back in 2004, you shared this with, I just want you to know I closed the biggest deal of my career. This is 12, 13, 14 years later.
Wow.
Oh my God. So that's the fun of doing all this.
Well, it's in alignment with your significant expertise, because you are very well versed in this. You've seen it. You play in this realm, and it's so important for us to understand all the nuances of that. And I'm real excited about this book. 7 Steps to Living Your Legacy.
Right.
I mean, people tap dance all around the legacy conversation. It is important to have. There are certain things that we can do to get there. But what about our life today? Isn't it about the journey?
Well, and that's really what it's about. It's about living your legacy, not just leaving your legacy. Your legacy should be something that you don't work to accumulate to leave to somebody once you die. It should be the actions you take and what you're known for as you live.
Absolutely.
There's no question in my mind that everybody understands what Mother Teresa's legacy is and was well before she ever passed. The going into the slums and taking care of people and bringing people out and feeding the poor. You didn't have to wait till she died to know what she was doing. Right? And there's so many more examples. We've all been born, Les Brown, a good friend, says, leap and the net appears. We've all been born with greatness within us. Les is so adamant about you got to be hungry. You got to go out there and make things happen. Well, we all have that opportunity. Yes. Do we have the vehicles, or do we take the time to find the vehicles that really? And so again, I congratulate you with what you're doing with OffBeat Business and the entire media offering that now gives people the tools. They don't have to create it themselves. Model it. Become part of it. Come with us. Let's make this thing happen so we can serve more people. Stop trying to figure it out. Come to what's already working, and let's create a group of like-minded, like-hearted people that want to make a difference on the planet.
And they can make a difference, and that difference has everything to do with the art of the conversation. Mm-hmm. It's one of the reasons the internet is the preferred method of business information today. Right. I think there's a large mistrust of a lot of medias and a lot of information out there. But friends, if we're networking and we've got relationships with people, we understand what's really going on in our community. And those things tend to not be the same as what's portrayed and conveyed to us. We, in the small business community, when you recognize who this group is, we start to realize that the things that are really impacting them are networking, our process development. Right. When you've got a matriarch and patriarch of the family, and you've got millennials, and the conversation out there, and it can be better because we need the types of qualities the millennial generation is bringing to the table. But the communication gap is a thing. So processes are part of our daily conversation in this space.
There was an article in the paper this morning that said it featured a 26-year-old, I believe she was, and she said, I can't possibly achieve what my parents achieved at this same age. It's sad. And studies came out yesterday that said the millennials are way behind, not just behind, but way behind their parents at the same ages. So there's multiple reports coming out. And so again, some of us more mature, again, code word for
Say
old.
that gently.
The fact is, there's a desire. That's what I really want to do with the book and with the trainings and the mentoring and the things that I'll be doing around the book, is there are a bunch of boomers. And I've got a bunch of boomer friends, a bunch of great trainers have the wisdom. And wisdom simply means you've gotten your butt kicked enough that you've turned it into something good, right?
Oh, I'm going to high five you on that.
That's right. I got enough of those friends that would love to help nurture and guide and bring along millennials. And so we're actually crossing boundaries. It's funny that we talk these. We're jumping right over Gen X. The heck with Gen X. We're jumping right over the top of them. No, and what's happening, I'm kidding. What we're doing is we're putting boomers with millennials, because the millennials, it's really interesting. So boomers, we went to college because that's what our parents told us to do. And then we went into corporate America because that's what our parents told us to do. And then we spent 10, 20, 30 years of our lives in corporate America hating every minute of it because that's what our parents did. And then we finally jump out of it. We become entrepreneurs. We have success. We go, this is really awesome, but it's kind of hollow. And then we strive for significance. And then we go, it feels great. But see, here's the millennials. The millennials don't want to waste 10, 20, 30, 40 years of their lives. They just want significance. They're not after success.
This is a very good point.
They're after significance.
Yes.
So when we can take the boomers who are, again, of a like heart and mind that want significance, have the stripes, have the whipping marks, have the stuff that they've been through, the wisdom, we match them with millennials who want the significance. They actually want the wisdom and guidance. They just don't want to go through 30 years to get it. Mm-hmm. They just want it now. People are like, oh, they're just so impatient. Yeah, you know what they are? That's not all bad, really.
No.
Get over yourself, mend the bridges, have the boomers train the millennials, and we're going to get Gen X from both sides.
Oh, that's so huge.
And so that's really what we're doing with the new book, with the new significance movement. Everything that I'm working on is working to get us to all understand that it's really about significance. Mm-hmm. If you make too much money, I want to make too much money, but I don't want to make too much money for me. Now, I want to live a very nice life, and I live a very comfortable life. But what I want is to be able to invest in the people who want to invest in other people. When people say, Scott, what is it you do? You seem to do so much. The short answer is I help people help people. That's really what it should be about. If we all adopt the plan that we want to help people, just think of how good this world could be.
Well, you just changed the sales conversation.
Exactly.
That's exactly it, and it's one of those struggles that we have, and I love that, because one of the things that, as we talk about that gap in our understanding in our companies, that the art of the storytelling is really what's missing, and it's missing because of that instant gratification that this lifestyle has really that's really happened in this generation, and we've all seen it, and you've got so many people clamoring, wishing they understood it better, and then you've got other people that understand it far too well, Yeah. And so, what do you do to kind of mend that? So and pull that together, because there's value in both, and at the same time, the focus has to get wiser.
Right.
An unaimed arrow is a dangerous thing.
What's interesting is you and I both attended the Ziglar devotional Monday morning, and the speaker is a friend of mine and yours as well. But he started out his presentation telling the story that's been told many times. In fact, a movie was made over. He told somebody else's story and then shifted into his story and told his story. Both were very impactful and powerful. Well, a day later, he called me and he said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." He said, "What was your biggest takeaway from my talk the other day?" And I had shared that with him. And he said, "And what would you do to improve the presentation?" I said, do you really want to hear it? And he said, absolutely. I said, nobody came to hear somebody else's story. Your story is your story, and you shifted, your ability to tell the story shifted when it was your own story. We're all in a situation now, I've had health issues. I am a firm believer that all the ups and downs in my life were to give me the lessons, but more importantly, the stories to serve somebody else. Not only do they serve me, but I can, with all authenticity and all from my heart, I can share that situation from my frame of reference because I've lived it. And the one thing that we have as we mature is more stories.
Yes.
And so we need the outlets. If we truly want to do good, God has equipped us with the information we need. What we really need then is the vehicle to share the stories.
And that's so important because those stories are the difference between the solid businesses that have been active. And, you know, companies out there today, Scott, that have been around for 50 years that are still struggling, and they see things changing, and they're still going on the word-of-mouth marketing, and they don't feel comfortable in the digital marketing space because they don't want to necessarily put their face out there or their voice out there, and they might say something that's a little bit different than what's popular. You know, all of a sudden you start realizing that how do you serve that group? Because if they're not in the digital marketing space, it's a very dangerous place to be. But there's nothing more important than conveying those stories. Those are the ones that teach everyone else how to be in business, how to talk to people, how to weather storms, how to get back up. How did you do this? How did you have relationships with your suppliers while you went through these things? You know, how did you do it? And those are so valuable. And that can be solved in a conversation.
Right. The fact is we've lost the art of conversation because we're relying, quite frankly, one of the modules I teach is communicating with confidence. And there was a study back in 1977 back at UCLA. It's the most misquoted communication study in history, so I'll be consistent and misquoted as well. But what it really basically said, it was interpersonal communication was the study, that 7% of our communication is the words. 38% is the tonality with which those words are delivered. 58% is the physiology behind the tonality with which it's delivered. So not to give the entire lesson away, but let's just use those numbers, no matter their specific accuracy today or not. But if 7% of the communication is the words, and the only thing we're relying upon is 140 characters or less, we're not even typing out the full word.
True.
We're using shortened words. So like my daughter's 28 years old. Her BFF is best friend forever. Mm-hmm. One of my friends says BFF, it's best friend fell. So the point is we're not even using the same acronyms for the same things. And we wonder why communication has become so shattered and fragmented. The fact of the matter is we need to get back into looking people in the eye, talking to them face to face, and making a difference in their world.
Oh, Scott, thank you so much for being a part of the OffBeat Business Media team. This is an exciting journey that we have. Friends, if you enjoy this type of information, and I know you did, and you want to find more about this, you can find it at offbeatbusiness.com. You can find all of these shows at OffBeat Business Media TV. And what a fascinating time to be in business. Realize that you've got so many more options than you ever knew you did before. Download the OffBeat Business app for Android and for Apple products to access all of this information, access our lineup, access our magazine, our member directory, and everything you need to do to shine. Until next time, this is Susan Hamilton talking with Scott Schilling for OffBeat Business TV.
You've been listening to the OffBeat Business Show. Find our lineup, podcast, magazine, event calendar, and sponsor information, even our membership directory, all available on the OffBeat Business app or at offbeatbusiness.com. Download the OffBeat Business app today.
Take this for me,